It is a privilege, it is a great honor to be part of this great gathering of wonderful people. Thank you, faculty, for joining in and celebrating the very first yoga conference for Malta. This conference is an expression of our collective commitment to honor and represent yoga as a timeless wisdom. Well, let's first experience by the series of what is now India. The theme of this first annual conference, it reflects, well, the urgency for a rehabilitation of the human ecology. It's a resilient body for an enduring planet. Now, the World Health Organization states that the climate crisis is the single leading health threat facing humanity. We know that climate change is impacting human lives and health in many ways. It threatens, well, the major ingredients of health: clean air, safe drinking water, good food, shelter. In the face of this unprecedented health crisis, it is incumbent upon all of us that we explore the notions of health as currently defined. Nowadays, the word yoga has entered the common language. To a large part, this is attributed to yoga becoming a major player in the fitness industry, as we know, all over the world. The question this conference seeks to respond to is, can yoga help resolve this climate crisis we, in our ignorance of the life process, have indeed designed in the last few hundred years? And well, yoga has its origin from a different time. It's an ahistoric, timeless being, which in Sanskrit is called Ishvara. And although the traditions of yoga and their texts can be, to some extent, dated, which they are, give and take a few hundred years here and there, the content of the teachings, the content as such, are beginningless and therefore unpolluted by the effects of time and culture. And it serves us to see what the teachings of the seers have to offer in terms of an understanding of this complex mechanism, which we call life. Now, if I had to ask my house cat, Pumpkin, what life is, you and I would be very surprised if it had to respond by advocating for or against the various theories of life. Apparently, the enterprise of inquiry is a human trait, as we know, and not a feline one. So we cannot expect Pumpkin, our house cat, to do something about the climate crisis, can we? So human life, as we know, is threatened. And it is our job to ensure that the planet recovers. We cannot blame our crimes on someone else. They are our sole responsibility. Now, the Industrial Revolution has been a game changer for the planet, with the combustion of coal, oil, natural gas, resulting in trillions of tons of carbon dioxide being released in the atmosphere as I speak now. And the signs of ecological stress are all too clear: soaring temperatures, stronger hurricanes, flooding, dangerous wildfires, the rapid loss of biodiversity, the increasing incidence of chronic disease across all populations. Simultaneously, to this global shift from the horse and the plow economy to the current industrial scenario of an uncertain climate, gurus from India traveled to Europe and America, spreading the message of yoga to the developing industrialized world. It seems actually like providence that yoga is taking the world by storm. Following in the footsteps of these seers, this conference is our affirmation that yoga can make a difference. Our own collective experience as faculty and you, yoga exponents, as a group, you confirm that yoga, when pursued meticulously, is life affirming and is therefore a regenerative path for all people and therefore for the planet too. Now, health has been defined as the absence of disease, a statistically normal state, a state of normality, or even a state of well-being. But on account of the inadequacy of these definitions to support lifestyles that work for the planet and not against the planet, these definitions leave much to be desired. They continue to fail to construct a sustainable system of healthcare. Healthcare workers, as we know, increasingly suffer from the unforgiving weight of a larger load of patient morbidity. And the planet, as we know, is sicker than ever. The health of the planet and the human condition are in fact inseparable. As life expectancy increases, the rate of morbidity continues to rise, and millions are now, unfortunately, comorbid, suffering from a cluster of chronic ailments, high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, cancers, and the situation is stressing the health of the planet at the seams, creating a massive burden on its resources to provide palliative and short-term supportive care. Now, because ideologies do inform human actions, and this is important, a change in the definition of health can inform a system of healthcare that contributes to the collective good. Our planet, is insisting that we, as its custodians, follow the path of regeneration. Healthcare as a way of reversing and correcting the processes of chronic deterioration. What does that mean? It means that as we heal, the planet, and this is important, will heal with us. As we heal, the planet heals with us. In a renewed definition of health, health is no longer a spreadsheet of figures. Health is the crafting, molding of an enduring body. In yoga, health is pursued daily. It is radically pursued and consistently pursued. Health is not a state in which I abide. Health is a process, just like the body is a process of recovery. It's a reclaiming of harmony and using various biomarkers and various blood markers, endorphins, cortisol, DNA damage markers. Science has affirmed the power of yoga to establish health. So, how are we to make amends and craft an enduring body? Well, yoga tells us that by design, the physical body is disposed naturally to look outside of itself for solutions. So we have this sensorial system which is there to be able to be a reception to all that is happening from the outside. However, the seers, they teach us that this outward looking process is never the solution to our troubles. Why? Because the solutions they provide are tainted. They are tainted with a limited view of how life works. They are limited because senses do have their limitations. The eyes have limitations. The ears have limitations. You can see the limitations even in the reception of temperature, hot and cold, through the various receptors in the skin. What is hot and what is cold varies. So, unguided by the higher faculties, which we call the antakarana in yoga philosophy, the inner instruments, the senses, they lead us to perdition, as actually the history of nations and the history of individuals amply show, unfortunately. Although the knowledge gained by the senses, they can be useful and are indeed useful, unguided, the senses and the mind, which is in yoga philosophy that which collects the data coming in, this knowledge gained ends up creating more pernicious problems, as the climate crisis proves. Let us not forget this. So wisdom requires not so much as an outward pouring, a centrifugal activity, but wisdom requires a quietening of the senses and reducing this mental chatter. So there is a place for introspection and contemplation. Why? Because these are formative of wisdom. Well, many a sage and a saint attest to the power of contemplation as a means to regulate the mind, to organize our moving, vacillating emotions, and prime the higher human faculties. Yoga reminds us that inner work means devoting oneself to looking inwards for more enduring solution. And this inner exploration process is designed to co-create a harmonious inner ecology as the proper base foundation for an outer thriving ecosystem in the planet. Rehabilitating the internal human cosmos is the primary solution to our external troubles in the world. Indeed, yoga repeatedly states that our external world is a projection of our interiority. The external world is a troubled one because our internal world is troubled. So from where do we start? We start from our inner ecology. In fact, we can state that we don't have actually an ecological crisis as such. We have poor life management. Our senses and our mind are completely out of control. So one aspect that yoga is most known for, which is asana, the postures, like the down dog and the shoulder stand and the lotus posture, all these postures, they make up for only one component, one anga or limb. It is the most visible and a very important one to cultivate. Why? Because this physical body doesn't lie to us. This physical body is the canvas upon which we narrate our internal how would I say, an internal language, our internal rhetoric, our internal stories, narratives. So one of the scriptures of yoga, a very important scripture by the seer Patanjali, it's called the Sutras of Yoga, or the Yoga Sutras. It explains that yoga has not but one limb, but it has 8 components. Hence, you have the word Ashtanga, Ashtanga yoga, the 8-limbed yoga. The first 2, Yama and Niyama, are the ethical foundations and the personal guidelines. And these two limbs, they inform the practice of mindfulness. The remaining angas or limbs, they refer to the reawakening of the association of the individual with all that there is as consciousness. As its source, consciousness is its source of power. The source of power is consciousness and not the mind. We stand on a great reset. Our insensitive and hostile ways of constructing an economy has been found wanting of empathy for the planet. And we see this. It's so evident. This pale blue dot we call Earth, and this vast cosmos, is unique in its capacity to shelter and to home life. As I speak, vast populations are now on the move in search for a place they can call home. Resources are dwindling, they're dwindling fast, species are going extinct at an unprecedented rate. Coastal areas will go under in our lifetime. If we don't do anything in favor of re-establishing harmony, we are facing a very bleak future. It is our present, but this need not be our future. Enduring changes can happen, but they can happen only from the inside out, from our hearts. From our hearts they have to happen. Yoga teaches empathy. All actions, large and small, all whatever your actions are. The things you buy, the food you eat, the places you go, the relations you foster, all these actions have consequences. And they add up. They do add up in the long run. Yoga teaches the law of karma. The science of yoga served us well in the past and will not fail us in the present. So do please make your actions count in favor of life. Live yoga and grow yoga. I would like here to thank the faculty again for the support in all this conference, and I would like especially send my warm regards and my privilege, honor, and appreciation to the High Commissioner, Her Excellency, for engaging in our small conference, our small part in our attempt to make this planet healthier. Thank you so much for your attention.